This video, we're going to take a look at some of the grammar stuff, some of the most common stuff that you'll be tested on. So, got a few different concepts here to go over, so we'll get right to it. So, we start off with just like the basic definition of a sentence, which you may or may not be actually get a test question on this, but just to make sure you understand that a sentence requires a subject and a verb. The subject being a person, place, or thing, and the verb being the description of the action of the subject, right? So, if it's missing either of those, it's not really a complete sentence. So this kind of helps us jump into sentence fragment. Okay, so if we're looking at a sentence fragment, Okay, so if we're looking at a sentence fragment, it is either missing the subject or the verb, right? That action being described. So let's look at an example. How about this one? When we got to the theater. Okay, so that is definitely not a sentence, right? But if you're asked, why is it not a sentence? What is it missing? Well, it has the we, right? And so that's the subject. So we got that part, but there's no action. It should be when we got to the theater, something happened. There was some action being described, and that's the verb that we're missing. Okay. And so that would be definitely a good example for sentence fragment. Okay. Next, run-on sentence. Could be tested on this too. Right. With a run-on sentence, I mean the actions that you're looking to take are either break it into two complete sentences or make it a compound or a complex sentence. And so let's look at an example of a run-on sentence and ways that we can correct it. All right, so we'll go cellular phones and laptops are used in communication. Everyone is using them these days. Okay, so that's definitely a run-on. We need to break that up somehow, right? So like here's two really good examples that we could do. Cell phones and laptops are used in communication. So a comma and then the word and, right? Once we do that, that looks all of a sudden like a good sentence. So now we've changed that from a run-on sentence, right? And probably your other most obvious answer is just to break into two sentences, right? Cellular phones and laptops are used in communication, period. Everyone is using them these days, right? So you definitely have two independent clauses here, right? And so that's two of the most common ways to fix that is just a period and making it two sentences, or a comma and the word and really your other one would be the semicolon, right? That's fine too, right? If you have two independent clauses that are related, which these two are, you can use the semicolon. So all of those are options on how to fix run-on sentences. You need to be familiar with those because there is a pretty good chance you would be tested on those concepts. Okay, let's get rid of these guys. So a few other specific ones that are worth going over here. Each, everyone, and everybody are singular, right? That might be surprising, right? So like if in a sentence where you see the word everyone, it seems plural at first glance, right? Because it's talking about more than one person, right? But it's actually a singular term. So let's look at an example. Let's see if this bothers you at all. Each of you is or are responsible for doing your chores. Okay, and so then we have the is or the are, right? And so it started off with that word each, and remembering that since each is singular, that means the verb has to be singular. So what that means is are is incorrect, is correct, right? And so is singular, are is plural. So that's how you would do that one. And that's going to be the rule every time you see each, everyone, and everybody. That just one you just have to have it locked in your mind. Each, everyone, and everybody are singular. And require singular verbs. Okay, here's another one with exactly the same thing. Neither or either are also singular. Okay, so what would be an example of that? And this can be also somewhat confusing because it seems plural. Because it's like neither of you, that would be a common phrase that you would see. Neither you has or have any money, right? Because I know I'm talking to more than one person when I say neither of you, right? I'm talking to at least probably two people. Has or have any money. Again, neither is singular, and that means the verb we're going to pick needs to be has and not have. So these are two important concepts that people pretty commonly get tripped up on. And because of that, we want to be familiar with the fact that they're singular. Okay, what about these? Gives, gave, is giving. Okay. As far as understanding, with gives and is giving are both present verbs. Gave is past tense. So let's look at an example. All right. For the grand opening last week, Brad's Toyplex gives, gave, is giving. Which one is correct? Bicycles for the first 50 people through the door. Okay. For the grand opening last week. Okay, and so when you're looking at that, that is the key term, right? And what you're looking for is this, regardless of what you kind of think by intuition you should do, is what you really should be looking for is to take your time with it and to think, is this present, future, or past, right? And when it's past, then we know we're going gave, right? Is giving and gives are both present. Okay, so that means is giving is wrong. And I don't think many people would pick gives, but the is giving, sometimes people go for that one. Where the correct answer is gave. Again, a little more room. Again, another example. Okay, we'll look at one more. She, and let's say it's, give you a bunch of different options here. Right, and again, we're going to be looking at the whole sentence. Right now, we don't know. There's no way we know yet. And we want to know past, present, or future. That's the question. If we know that, the rest is pretty easy. Okay. Is it she enters, will enter, has entered, had entered, has entered the building next Tuesday? Okay, so the key part really is the next Tuesday, right? That tells us it's in the future. Enters is present. Will enter, right? That term will refers to something that happens in the future, right? So that probably keys us off. That's probably the answer, but we'll look at the other two to make sure. Had entered, that's something that would have happened in the past. And has entered is present. So there are two present answers there. So the correct answer, though, is will enter, right? She will enter the building next Tuesday. And that's kind of like two different examples of looking at past, present, future verbs, right? And how to come up with the different answers. All right, the last part that we want to look at is something called the pronoun-antecedent agreement. So last example here, I know a lot of examples in this video. So I'll just write it out and then explain. Any student can choose classes for next semester at his or her convenience. Okay. So what you're looking at is, so with the word, let me get my pen out here for 1 second. All right, so we have student, right? And because student is singular, then the pronoun also has to be singular, or pronouns, right? And so his and her are both singular pronouns, and so we need to have that, right? We cannot have any plural pronouns like there, and have this still be a correct sentence, right? Where a lot of people would see any student can choose classes for next semester at their convenience, wouldn't have a problem with it. There would be incorrect in this situation. His or her singular pronouns is correct. All right, so that was a longer one, but that's a lot of the most important stuff you need to know for grammar.